So, hi, welcome to Hypothetically Intentional, where we ask the question, what if we were intentional with everything we do? Okay, so here is rule 6. Are you ready?
Rule 6, yes.
Turn your brain on because it makes my head spin.
Okay.
There is no better than here. When your there has become a here, you will simply obtain a there that will look better to you than your present here.
It's a long way to say the grass is always greener, I guess.
And I love
Oh.
that you went there. That's exactly where my brain went. I'm like, that's just a really long version of like the mentality or the perspective that the grass is always greener on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me, the message is then be here right now. Be here now. Be present. If you're looking forward, you're always going to have that FOMO, lack mentality. And if you're just in the moment, in gratitude and appreciation and being present in who you are, that feels more like I just keep hearing be here now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you followed that.
It was a lot of double negatives, like not really double negatives, but it was worded very, I would say, weirdly, but that's okay.
Yeah. I know. When the first time I read it, I was like, wait, what? And I had to read it a few times to like get to the grass is greener part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I figured you would follow. So do you have do you find yourself good with being in the here, or do you tend to go to the grass is greener on the other side?
It kind of depends on what I'm doing. Like a lot of times I'm looking forward to things that are coming up. I don't know if that's like a necessarily a bad thing. Like that brings me a lot of joy to like this thing is, happening soon and I'm excited for it, right? I don't think that's what we're condemning here. Um, but yeah, there are definitely times where that can maybe, I guess, get in the way of whatever I'm doing at the moment, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Hmm. Now we have a pause. I know
Yeah,
that's
that's
not very
okay.
good.
Andrew will sometimes put
Uh,
crickets in there. Well, I was going to comment on your like things to look forward to. That to me feels like a very different thing. Like I feel like,
yeah.
especially if you're digging in and doing the work or in high stress, I feel like having something to look forward to that will
Mhm.
fill your cup and take away some of that stress that you're feeling in the now is a really
Right.
good tool to use to help you navigate the stress that you're in the now. That
Yeah,
to
and I
me
feel like
feels very different than wishing you had something that you don't and feeling like a lack mentality of where you are and what you have. Like that's a very different thing.
yeah, that's true. And I don't know, like the problem with like assigning rules to existence, I guess, and maybe the problem with the grass is greener mentality, being a thing that we think about is like sometimes the grass is greener. Like sometimes you shouldn't be where you are and you need to move. And like that's harder to do than staying where you are. So I feel like pushing yourself towards like, well, I should just stay where I am all the time isn't gonna do more harm than good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love what you said
Like,
there. And I don't read this that way either. Like if the goal isn't stagnancy, it's like, what choice am I
but like
making
that's
now? And is it leading me somewhere that I want to go?
mhm. But like I don't know that this is I feel like to the average person, like myself included, when you hear like, oh, something like this, that's like, be here, don't worry about there, like that's going to, while that has some helpful truth to it, it's more likely to like net in the direction of stagnancy, right? Like if that's something that you really think about a lot and take to heart a lot, like that's more likely to do you more harm than good, I feel like, for
Yeah,
most people
I just
on
didn't
average.
interpret it that way, but I get what you're saying. I mean, I 100% agree with what you're saying. I
Mhm.
was definitely in the narrow valley or the narrow path of this, meaning you're wanting something that you don't have while not even seeing the blessings or the good that you do have.
Mhm.
And I was very much putting
Yeah.
it into that
And
like
that's like a
neat
good,
little ball. And then I
yeah,
think,
and it's like a
yes, 100%.
probably what is intended, right? But
Yeah.
like it's easy to, like when I was at my previous job, right? Like if I was worried about the grass always seeming greener on the other side, like I would have probably not changed jobs, at least as readily, and be in like the much happier position that I'm in now. And I think that's true of a lot of things. Like if something doesn't feel right, like if you really like, there's a difference between not appreciating what you have, I guess, and like realizing that you're not in the right place. And I feel like it's hard to move places in a big way. And so giving yourself additional resistance in the form of thinking about this, like I guess proverb, if you want to call it that, a
Yeah.
lot is not necessarily something that I would recommend. But
Yeah. Well, and so, I mean, I think when you're in high stress or anxiety or even, like those places when we get sort of stuck in those emotions or in those states, I think sometimes coming back to present makes sense because it's all you can do in that moment. But I love what you're saying
mhm,
about like you can't only look at the present. Like you do, like I
right.
find reflecting on the past is a great way to heal. And I also
Mhm,
find like dreaming about the future, so to speak, is a great way to
right.
set goals and decide where you want to go, and it keeps you from being unstuck. And I think what
Mhm,
I'm hearing now as we're having this conversation is that when you are good, I mean good, right? Use good in quotes, aligned,
mhm,
centered, grounded, happy, when you're in a state that is high vibe or positive, or I don't know, I don't like words around that. It's just like when you're in a good place, I'm just going to say it simple
mhm,
like that, then looking at the past, the present, and the future collectively can be a really beautiful, useful thing.
mhm,
When you're in a state that is less good, looking at those other things can really bring you down a spiral pretty quickly. It can either aggravate
mhm,
the anxiety or bring you down to depression or like sink you down a what I call my dark, soggy, alone place that just takes
mhm,
me, it's harder for me to get out of it. Um,
right.
so I just think it's really like to have the awareness of like what is my mental state right now, and
Mhm,
then how do I want to navigate that, because I'm with you 100%. Stagnancy is different than a pause. Sometimes we need a pause
yeah.
to sit and integrate and decide and
Mhm.
discern and all that.
Well, and sometimes you're in like a spot that you're content with for a really long time, and there's nothing wrong with
Exactly.
that either.
Yeah.
But
And I think there's growth in that
yeah.
because you're aware of it. I think when there's awareness there's
Mhm.
opportunity for growth, and that's just kind of how it works. So I don't know how you feel
That
about
makes sense.
rule 6. I also like what you said about rules. I don't love rules. I
I don't
picked
love
this so
rules
we
either,
I
but
picked
that's
this so
okay.
we could pick it apart, you know,
Right.
or just maybe chew on it a little bit, because I do
Yeah.
believe in like um I like getting advice from people. I like talking to my elders and youth because
Mhm.
I think their perspective of the world is different than mine, and well,
Yeah.
anybody's perspective of the world is different than mine, and I find that fascinating and I love it. I learn every time
Mhm.
I talk to people. So
Mhm.
all right, rule 6 feels complete. Yes.
Yes, I would say so.
All right. Let's go to rule 7.
Okay.
All right. Rule 7 says others are only mirrors of you. You cannot love or hate something about another person unless it reflects something you love or hate about yourself.
Hmm. That's a little absolute, I would say, but like it's
That's
it's reasonable to like I think what it's trying to do is provoke some introspection of like what is, both like this thing annoys me about this person or whatever. What does that say anything about me that I need to like work on? And on the flip side, like, hey, I really like this about this other person, like in times of lower like self-esteem, that can be something to look at and be like, hey, do I share any of that?
yeah.
Um, any of those qualities, or like, can I aspire to be more like this person that I or like have this quality that I really appreciate? I don't know that I would word it in the way of like you can't have feelings about other people unless they're intrinsically tied to your ego, but
I
you
know.
know,
That's what because I do think that other people, I think how we see other people, how we see the world, how we see life in general does give us information about our experiences, how we feel about ourselves, things that we can find within ourselves that we maybe haven't discovered yet, like all that kind of stuff. But the absolutely, like, you cannot love or hate something about another person unless it reflects something you love or hate about yourself. I mean, maybe, but I feel like only maybe, because pretty much anything you can get to some sort of a root emotion where we have all had at one point or another that we did or didn't like. You know what I mean? But that's super oversimplifying what they're actually saying. So I'm not super sure, but I do find that, you know, when I'm triggered by something, or when somebody brings up a strong emotion in me, good, bad, or indifferent, actually indifferent can be a strong emotion, because to me, it feels so neutral, which feels, I don't know, good or bad is probably more strong, but I do find myself like reflecting the mirror, right? Like, like, what are they showing me? What are they revealing to me that then makes me need to, you know, look within myself, you know? And I don't know, even saying that out loud in the now, I'm like, God, that just sounds so ego. It sounds so like, I got to look at me,
right? Like, it's,
you know, but you know, here's my take on that is like, it's in the name of growth. Like, if it's a strong visceral reaction for me, then it's probably something I need to look at. But also, I like to just share space with people without unpacking all the things. Can we just be in space and relax? You know, do we have to make everything complicated? I don't believe we do. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, introspection is good. And like, you're the only person you really have control over. So like, maybe that's what it's trying to get at too, is like, well, I can't change this other person. What can I do about me? But like, I don't know. It seems a little, like you said, it's like overcomplicating a lot of things, it seems.
Yeah.
But it's not like a terrible thing to chew on either. Like, I don't think it's necessarily harmful.
No. All right, let's go to Rule 8. What you make of your life is up to you. You have all the tools and resources you need. What you do with them is up to you.
I feel like that's two very different statements, right? Like, what you make of your life is up to you. Yeah, that makes sense. You have all the tools and resources you need. That's just like not true for everybody. Like,
right.
I don't know. But again, these seem like pretty general, and I don't know what. Maybe I'm picking these apart a little bit too much, but
well, I think that's the point.
like,
I mean, I think that's
yeah. Like, that's a good affirmation, and like, maybe it's true for this article's target audience or whatever, but there's certainly people who do not have the tools and resources they need. And like, while it's true that like what you make of your life is up to you, in that like you're the only one who has like ownership of those outcomes, right? Nothing is like certain. Like, you can make all the right decisions, right? And this is something that I think about a lot, largely through the lens of magic. Honestly, I play a lot of Magic, and you make all the right decisions sometimes. And like, I apply this to the rest of my life as well. Like, you can do everything right. You pick you do the thing that's the most likely to get you what you want, right? Whatever that is, whether it's winning a card game, or like landing that job, or like, you know, getting to like contentment in your life. And sometimes it will still not work out. Like, that is something you have to accept. And like, I feel like this rule is making it sound like if you fail, like, it's your fault, right? And that's just not true all the time.
Yeah.
If you're the only one who has to clean up the pieces, like, that's true, but it's not always like, I don't know.
I think this is, yes, I 100% agree with what you're saying. When I read what you make of your life is up to you, I do get that, you know, in that like our choices lead us to where we are. But I think about I think about travel. I think travel opens, like, it definitely opened my eyes in a way of like, resources are different in different places, you know, what you have available. And travel doesn't have to be outside of my state, right? It can just be simply going somewhere outside of my home or my business and just noticing what life looks like in a different place. And I think you have all the tools and resources you need. I mean, sure, within you to navigate your choices to get you what you can, but some people definitely don't have all the tools and resources that they need. They got to go
even within
find them,
right? Like,
so, And they got to put themselves in position. Dan was just saying this morning. We were talking about like luck and how like everyone has luck, and you have to like place yourself in positions where you can take advantage of said luck, whatever that looks like, like to strategically place yourself. But some of us definitely have way more opportunities just to strategically place ourselves where tools and resources are more readily available or not.
Right. So,
and then what you do with them is up to you. Sure, your tools and resources, so if we're just talking about our mind and our heart, let's just take all of the external out of it, because I do think that's what this is talking about, which is unrealistic and not a complete picture. But I do think that's what this is talking about.
Yes.
Our mindset and our heart and how we use them are our choice, and they're up to us.
Yes, that true.
Resonates with me and feels true. But when you look at this as like a what is it? Rules for 10 rules for being human. I'm like, yeah, but humanity is more than just my brain and my heart.
Right. Like there's external factors. Well, and then even like there's a lot of people have internal factors in their brain or their heart. Like they have mental health issues, they have addictions, they have, these things are part of probably most people in some ways, right? Like to say all that, like these things are all your fault, like you have all the tools to deal with them, like that's, I don't know, a little unsympathetic. And I feel like not like it's okay. Like you shouldn't have to deal with all of your problems from within, like intrinsically. Like
I do think about choice. And I'm thinking about my grandfather specifically. Like my grandfather, was an alcoholic, and the family tried over and over and over again to get him the help he needed. And he never chose it. He pretended to choose it. He chose it temporarily, but he chose it for us, not for him, which made it temporary, not permanent. And I think about that and I think, okay, I do believe he wanted to not need alcohol. I do believe that in his heart, he wanted to heal and get better, but I don't believe he was able to make that choice for himself at any point on his journey. Even when he made that choice, it wasn't long-term or long-lasting. So it's like this, I don't know, like, do I believe he had that choice? Do I believe he could have made that choice? I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do believe he could have made that choice. And I believe that for whatever reason, he didn't have that in him, for whatever reason.
Right.
And I still think he could have, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
He didn't have all the support or the tools that he needed to get there to do that thing. But I also believe he had more pain. I believe he had more pain, and that was stronger than the heart that he had to want to make the choice. And that's where his battle was. That's how it felt to me as a child growing up. I mean, I didn't, I wasn't where I am now when I was witnessing him navigate his life. But I do reflect on it sometimes because I know that there were a lot of pain points.
Well, and like even to us talking now, though, like it's not like I don't know. We're talking about him getting the help he needs, right? Like it's not like we're saying he had all the tools and resources he need inside of him all along to quit cold turkey and go about his life. I don't know. Yeah, you still have to make those decisions, though, and I think maybe that's the lens to look at this through.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This was great. Thank you. I'm going to do the whole, please give us a like and a subscribe and a follow. And you can find us at jaidewellness.com, JAIDEE wellness.com. Social media pages. You can look for my personal Michelle Albers ones as well. And I really appreciate you being here with us today, Jake. Thank you.
Yes, you can't find me anywhere. I'm not really on socials, but that's okay.
He can find you through me if you need. You will be back.
That's true.
All right. Yes. So then we say bye. Be you every day.
Bye.